you doing? Hope you're well. So me and Kim are doing an impromptu press release, I suppose. We're doing our own press release today because, as many of you know, we have been in the papers today. Kim had an interview on Radio 4 and BBC One actually did a small thing regarding our campaign in this court case. So we've had great news, haven't we, Kim?
We have, guys, and I'm not being ignorant. I'm just sharing this post. I am on Facebook at the moment, so please forgive me. Yeah, we've had, it's been a bit of a nuts day, guys. And what usually happens, this is only the second time it's ever happened. So what we do is, obviously, we give the press release. It goes out because we've got PR consultant now. So we get talking points, we get our statement written for us and things like that. But it doesn't matter how good we write this press release or how good we give our interviews. We can never control the questions that's asked of us. We can never control the information they want to publish. So we thought this time, do you know what we will actually do? We'll let the press get their hands on it. But before it gets too far, we'll actually do our own press release, what we have put out in our own way, and respond to anything that's contradictory, really, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a good place to start was your Radio 4 interview today, Kim, because obviously the guy asked you the question first, what did you find so concerning? And then he interviewed, or he asked the question to, who was she? The director of education? I missed a name.
Well, she's the director of colleges and schools, or schools and colleges, whichever way it is, in Wales. So she's the director of that. So she's the director of schools and colleges, and she doesn't know. So if she doesn't know and she's up here, the teachers are down here, you can bet your bottom dollar there's some missing information there as well.
I'm not entirely sure. I don't know if she didn't know or didn't want to say. I couldn't really work it out because, you know, when it came to sort of like talking about like the gender ideologies and, you know, the content being inappropriate, when it came to sort of like saying that she wasn't aware, she kind of sort of said, oh, well, I don't know about that. And then she went on to say about, well, I do know that the framework talks about kindness. Now, no one's got a problem with teaching kindness and, you know, giving children those tools of, you know, being empathetic towards others. We would never spend this much time campaigning against that.
Yeah, let me just cut in there, Lou, while you're mentioning that. So where this information has actually come from is the last two documents printed. So that's the RSE code, okay, and the RSE guidance. They were only published in January the 11th and January the 25th this year. We've been fighting this for 2 years. They were in consultation a year before that. So what you need to realize, guys, is, okay, we are fighting everything before these two documents that they've shown you now, okay? So if you're going to just go to those two documents and think we're fighting those two documents, a little bit of common sense, okay? Those documents didn't exist when we started this fight. Those documents have now come out. Well, the law was passed in March. It had royal assent in April of last year. These documents was not published until January of this year. Okay, so there's a big gap there. So we are not fighting the documents they're showing you now. We are fighting the legislation, which is the Curriculum and Assessment Act, and we're also fighting the comprehensive sexuality education because you've been misled. So those two documents that you will be shown, and people will say, this is the framework, this is the framework. That framework did not exist prior to the 11th and 25th of January, okay? They did an absolute whitewash. If you want to see what's going on, go back in time. We've got 3 years under our belt just on this situation in Wales. There's been a lot of to-ing and fro-in. And if you think our fight is a fight against those two new existing documents, you've got a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's quite frightening, actually, the things that we have seen up until now. The RSE code, you know, it doesn't really give a lot of information, doesn't it? You know, it does sort of like, it seems sort of, you know, very sort of airy-fairy, doesn't really go into a lot of detail. However, you know,
and you made a good point the other day, Lou. It is not going to go into a lot of detail for a long, long time. And if people, you know, want to go on the current documents, then just look at the legislation then. If you're not interested in what the government has planned, just look at the current legislation then, and you tell me you agree with that. Because you literally have been taken out of your child's education. You've been removed from all say of your child's education, the mandatory aspects anyway, that is. So,
well, like who are they? Who are the governments who actually say we're taking away your parental rights from when your child is age 3? Like, how can any parent be happy with that? You know, so you know that should scare them.
This is another thing people don't realize. This is not a single subject. I take my kids out on a lesson. This is no longer a singular lesson. It's going to be in every single lesson across the curriculum. Whatever they can put it, they're going to squeeze it in, right? This is a trend, and this is a political experiment on our children, and it is not happening. And on that note, I just want to conceive here without talking points, Lou. It goes on to Mr. Justice Turner. Can I just say something, guys? Because in the last press release, right, we just kept having a response from the nameless spokesperson in the government. So Mr. No Name from the government keeps saying this statement. We are spreading misinformation, right? We've got a high-profile barrister. If there was no case to answer, the legal team wouldn't take it, all right? If this was misinformation, do you seriously think a judge is going to authorize this into court? We were expecting rejection. We were expecting to appeal, then go and give oral evidence, then 4 weeks later have our decision. This is what was planned for us, okay? So this is really unexpected. The judge has granted our judicial review. So are you insulting the judge's intelligence? But what I have noticed today is since the judge has authorized this judicial review, the response from the government so far, they have not mentioned misinformation. Are the government thinking that they don't want to insult the judge's intelligence? Because that is a fine line there now. Everybody's got to be careful not to offend the judge.
Yeah, I know they didn't mind offending us.
You know, common sense, okay? Common sense. Look, this is a high-profile case. It's going to court, right? A judge in the High Court has authorized it. To get into this position is really, really hard. The paperwork has to be bang on. You have to have a case worth trying for a start. Don't forget now, we are just everyday people. We've got the Welsh government who have a bottomless purse, right? So what we are up against is massive. They're going to be paying for the best lawyers, the best barristers out of you guys' money. Now, if there was misinformation, they could have just nipped this in the bud a long time ago. They could have proven it was misinformation and we wouldn't be here, would we? The judge has accepted this into court. That is not an easy task. Like I said, we planned for rejection, then we planned for an appeal and go in to give oral evidence. 4 weeks later, got a decision. But this is where we are. So, guys, a court does not accept misinformation. Right?
No,
the court does not waste their time. Shall I read what the judge said?
Say that again.
Shall I read what the judge said?
Yeah, I think you should. Yeah, because it's really good what this judge has said.
So this is the sealed order of service. Okay, and what this says is this is the Queen on the application of Kimberley Isherwood and 4 others and the Welsh ministers. So it is ordered that, so before the Honourable Mr. Justice Turner, sitting at Royal Courts of Justice, the Strand, City of Westminster, it is ordered that 1, permission to apply for judicial review is granted. 2, the claimant's application for anonymity and their child is granted because there's obviously sensitive cases going in here, guys, right? And 3, the Welsh ministers are substituted as defendants in place of the Minister of Education and Welsh Language. What that means is the defendant is not the Minister of Education and Welsh Language. The defendant is now all the ministers in the Senate. It's just the government. And the reasons for allowing this, listen to this, and we will put this on the website. We'll put this there for you to see, okay? The reasons. This is a High Court judge, okay? This is his reasons for allowing this after seeing our court file and after seeing the government's response to it. And he said this: the issues raised on behalf of the claimants involve the consideration of complex constitutional matters with potentially very significant consequences for both parents and children. The response of the defendants, although not without force, is not so obviously determinative of the issues as to justify refusal of permission. It is likely that a robust case management will be required to ensure that the scope of the challenge and the response thereto are kept within the bounds of reasonable proportion. We forget about that, right? So what that really says is, guys, right? So we are the claimants, the defendants is the government. So what we have raised are issues of consideration of complex constitutional matters which could have potentially very significant consequences for both parents and children. That's not misinformation, is it?
No, it's not.
That's not the knickers in a twist, is it?
Well, and that is based on all the evidence that we have provided them. You know, you've all
the same evidence that we've been showing you guys, okay?
Yeah.
So it's everything we've been transparent from day one, and that's what's gone into the court. He then goes on to say, right, so the defendants, which is the government, the response to the defendants, although not without force, is not so obviously determinative of the issues as to justify refusal of permission. So what that says is the government has provided a good argument, just simply not good enough.
Yeah.
So this is why it has to be heard. And then he goes on to say it's complex, and it is complex. There's a lot of evidence gone in, a lot of evidence. There's been a lot of to and fro-ing and things like that. So we have to have a preliminary hearing. I'm not very good with the P words. Punctuality is another one I'm not good with. So we have a preliminary hearing where we'll decide what is going into the court as argument and what is staying out. So an example of that would be then, for me, there's a lot of evidence of back and forth emails with the government. Well, that's not needed in court. It's not a legal argument. But the fact is mentioned in the statement gives us credibility of what we went through to get here. But that's not a legal argument to have in court. Also, there's 5 different statements here. So they've all got their own complexities. They've all got a different angle. And it's about, and the thing is, this is a seamless whole. Now, we haven't got no money, but the government's got plenty. So they can bring witness after witness after witness after witness after witness. They can afford it. There has to be a limit on this case, you know. So we will be dropping some stuff, but at the end of the day, you've got to choose your battles to be able to win the war. And that's what we very much focused on now. But guys, these are the words of the judge, okay? This is not misinformation. Nobody is misleading you. As for being called bigots and transphobic and things like that, that is a very serious offence. It's a hate crime. And if the judge had noticed any kind of hate through our documentation, I'm pretty sure he would have informed the police.
Yeah, they certainly wouldn't have allowed it into court, because anything to do with homophobia or transphobia or anything like that is the only
court they would be going to, yeah. If there was anything like that, right, or even a tone of anything like that, the only court they would be going to is a criminal court.
Yeah.
Because it's a serious crime. And when people say, right, do you know, if I was a trans person, I would be very offended that people are using that word like that. Why would you accuse someone of transphobia? If you are witnessing transphobia, you report it to the police.
Yeah.
So the fact you're saying there's transphobic behaviour going on and you're doing nothing about it, you are devaluing that word, that crime. You're making that crime meaningless. It's sad. Stop it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you just bounce around these words just because you can't win an argument. That's what's been happening, isn't it? When they can't actually explain like their argument against us, they'll just say, oh, you're just transphobic. Really? No, we're objecting to children being indoctrinated. That's
Simple.
simple as.
Aren't people concerned that the government's taking control of your child's education?
They really
Who
should
picks
be.
the child's school? Who chooses where your child goes to school? Who chooses where you live? But you've got no choice of that education. Doesn't that bother you? Anyway, the government's got full control over your child. Doesn't that concern you in the slightest? You know, this is a government who we've heard statements such as they're going to win this hands down.
Yeah.
This is a government who have pretended we haven't existed for 2 years. This is a government where the education minister didn't even reply to us for 18 months.
Yeah, and can I just point out as well that we keep getting reports that this has been consulted with parents. Now, are there any parents on here that were actually consulted? Were you actually consulted with this sex education? Because I know I wasn't. We did fill out some consultations. There were some ones there, wasn't there, under the radar. They didn't really advertise it, where we could fill out what we thought of the incoming education, but it wasn't widely available, and I don't even think they took any notice of what we were saying anyway.
Right. They did a consultation before we found out about this, and RSE was mentioned in that, and 80% of people disagreed with the aspect of RSE. Then the consultation, the second one that we became aware of, we took part in, RSE wasn't mentioned in that, but 68% of respondents went out of their way to mention RSE. That's a massive number. When they've had to go out of their way, it hasn't been discussed, it wasn't mentioned throughout the consultation. That is a huge number. So, and like we've done an FOI, anyway, we did an FOI to find out when this was made publicly. But actually, guys, apparently, involving you guys and making things public is Kirsty Williams giving a speech in the Senate.
Yeah.
How many of you sit and watch the Senate?
No, well, I didn't even know those speeches really existed, to be honest.
That is, so they've technically informed the public, and that was October 20, I think it was 2019 or 2019 it was, and if you have a look, that letter is on our website.
Yeah, and also we did do a petition as well, and we managed to get our 5,000 signatures in time, even though they really did try and screw us over and say, you need 10,000 signatures if you don't get your 5,000 by the Monday, and that was on the Friday. We managed to get our 5,000 signatures, but we didn't get our debate, didn't we, Kim?
No.
So,
no.
You know, what's going on? What are we meant to be living in a country where, like, are we meant to be democratic?
We're supposed to be democracy, yeah. Well, if you think about it, right, we're supposed to live in a democracy, okay? Yeah. And if you think about it, even when they were putting this through in the Senate, there was no oppositional party.
No.
There was no oppositional party. Now, the Conservatives will say they were in opposition. So why did Laura Ann Jones then join the Children and Young People's Education Committee, flip-flop, give a speech and say she'd be happy for a 9-year-old son to have his education? Now she's the shadow minister for education, and that's the response we keep getting back off the Conservatives. When we served Jeremy Miles with the letter of action back in, when was it? February? Yeah. We served him with a letter. We emailed all 16 Conservative politicians, and we said, "Free money where your mouth is. Are you prepared to publicly back this case?" And a few of them mentioned Laura Ann Jones. I said, "Don't bother." And the only one person we spoke to was Darren Miller, and that meeting was on the 28th of April from February. And all he wanted to know was he just keep him in the loop about the court case. There has been no opposition there, so there hasn't really been a democracy. It's just been decided by, I think, on each time about 40 people in the Senate. That is not representative of this country. It's not representative of the polls they did, the consultations. There is no democracy in this country.
But sorry, go on. I was just going to add as well. even the people who were voting for it in the Senate, because we watched that meeting, didn't we?
Yeah.
It didn't seem that a lot of them knew what this was about, because one of them even said, I really think that girls should learn about periods. It was just like, we're not objecting to that. That's nothing to do with this, you know?
No, I'm glad you mentioned that, because this is one thing that keeps coming up. I started my period and I didn't know, blah, 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 blah. Well, if this was about that, how come menstruation wasn't an amendment until the final reading?
Exactly.
And they actually give, and if you look on our YouTube channel, I think, did you do the live with me and Adele, or was it just me and Adele? We did a live and we played the debate.
No, it was just you and Adele, it was.
Well, on there, it's on there. They wanted a medal for that. The female politicians wanted a medal on that 3 years after they started bringing it in. Isn't that what it's for? Everything they've said hasn't come to fruition. Everything we have said has turned into a beanstalk.
Yeah.
And what we got two types of people judging this, guys, right? We've got people who've had a lovely presentation, had information presented to them, and then you've got people who've done a thorough investigation. And let me tell you something now. It's the mothers that did the thorough investigation. The mothers leave no stone unturned.
They don't.
When you give them a presentation, you're not given a chance to scrutinize. Half of them probably like on their phone. Oh, that sounds good. Oh, yeah, that sounds good. Yeah. But us mothers, we leave no stone unturned.
No, not when it comes to children.
Difference between being presented with information and agreeing with it and investigating things, a thorough investigation. And we have investigated. No matter what the issue has been, we would ask a single question to that Senate. We would always get 3 different answers. Always. We'd get an answer off the department. We'd get a different answer off an FOI. And the third answer would come from the politician, our representative, every single time. It's all on our website.
Yeah. Well, that's it, isn't it? We spent and it's quite insulting, really, when you spend so much time looking into it, and then someone will come back to me, no, that's rubbish. The teachers aren't teaching that now. No, we're not teaching it now, but they will be. Yeah. And it will not be, the thing is, it's not going to come in hard and fast, because it didn't when it first came to America. It didn't when it first came to Scotland.
But this is it, though, right? It's not just that. They're going to really hold back on it now because they've been caught out. Don't forget, they nearly got this in, like nobody knew.
No.
It was like the final stages we found out what was going on. So the only documentation they've published since that has been the recent ones, which in January. And again, I just repeat, we've been fighting this for 2 years. Don't think we're fighting those documents you're reading today.
Exactly.
We've got a lot of catching up to do. A hell of a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah, well, the previous documents clearly stated about the UNESCO, to refer to the UNESCO documents. I don't think this current... Well, it is. We know it comes from the United Nations and the WHO. We know that, we've
had a report. We've had a report. The RSE code does not actually say this, but every document before it mentioning it says the RSE code is UNESCO.
Exactly.
Just because they haven't put that on a document now, they haven't even called it CSE. It's Comprehensive Sexuality Education. They name it RSE over here. They've just taken a different name. This is CSE.
It is.
And that's what we don't like about it. But the thing is, now we've done all this work. We've gotten to where we said we would be. We said this 2 years ago we would get here. But we got to put our money where our mouth is now, Lou.
We do. We really do. And like the fundraise, I'm not sure. I think we're approaching 17,000 at the moment. Our aim is 100,000. So we really do need to ramp up the fundraising. And I've done a little calculation. There's about 1.378 million households in the whole of Wales. If 10% of households, not people, if 10% of households in Wales gave £1 each, we'd be above our target. Yeah. So, it really, and the thing is, people that do donate normally give more than £1. So what we're asking here, if you give as little as £1 and you tell maybe your neighbour about it, maybe your family about it, It is really as simple as that.
Everyone you tell about it, right? If they say, "Oh my God, that's terrible," say, "Right, give me £1 for your kid."
Yeah.
Give me £1 for your kid. If you
Yeah.
think it's terrible, give me £1 for your child now, so we can put it into the fund with them. And then essentially they're giving £1 to cover their child, but really they're covering 5 or 6 children, really.
Yeah.
In that £1, you know. So if we did that, grab a quid off everyone we know with kids.
Yeah. And
That's
yeah,
a start.
it is. It's a massive start. And, you know, like everyone, the majority of people in this country have either got kids, grandkids, nephews, nieces. You know, this is going to affect everyone. This
Forever.
education.
There's no going back from this, and we only get one part of it. And this is for the whole of the UK. This isn't like, oh, Wales have won. Come on, England, let's see if we can do the same as Wales. Come on, Scotland, let's see if we do the same as Wales. No. One it takes to start this domino effect, and we wipe them out in one. We're not messing with them, right? What's between us and Scotland? They want us to believe there's 2 borders between us, but you know what? There's nothing between an email, is it? And that's how fast these documents are flying from country to country. So we take this out for the whole of the UK. I'm just going to take my out the oven, guys, okay?
Okay, no problem. Yeah, exactly. This is like, although it is a Welsh fight, as in we are taking the Welsh government to court, this will affect the whole of the UK. I just want to touch on as well, you know, people are saying, you know, kids do need sex education, especially in secondary school. I have had a couple of comments like that. And you're right. Children do, you know, we're not objecting to sex education. We're just objecting to this sex education. We have said it many a times. This sex education that's coming in, it's worldwide, it's global. We've seen it already. We've seen the content already in 52 countries. So we know it's not just about, you know, the normal sort of sex education in terms of biology at the appropriate time, you know, teaching children about their bodies, etc., making sure they stay safe online. My God, I've got no issue at all about making sure that children are safe online. You know, believe you me, that is really, really important. But this particular comprehensive sex education, it's full of ideologies, full of different, you know, like in the youngsters will be learning about all the different flags, etc. All the different, you know, like your sex isn't assigned at birth, there's more than 2 sexes, rah. And this is going to be drummed into them from a real early age. And the most concerning for me, for myself, I find it really concerning that this sex education really is promoting promiscuous behaviour, and that's not good. And early sexual behaviour as well. You know, when we're teaching our children values, a lot of us parents want to teach our children about self-respect. And, you know, a sexual relationship comes when you're in a meaningful relationship. So a meaningful relationship comes first, and then any sort of sexual contact would come sort of further along the line. But this sex education seems to be hell-bent on being sexually free. You know, it really does encourage, you know, all the different types of sexualities. You know, you could change from being a pansexual to bisexual. You know, it's really enforcing all these ideologies on young children, and you know, that's why we don't.
The greatest concern of it all, I think, right, is it's open to interpretation.
That's bad. Yes,
it's open to interpretation. And do you know who's interpreting this? There's people out there with agendas. There's people out there with perversions. Yeah. We don't. When something's not black and white and clear cut, it shouldn't be around children.
Especially when it's on this subject.
You know, it shouldn't. If something's not black and white and not clear cut, would you let your child cross the road on a zebra crossing if there were cars coming? You wouldn't. You would still wait for that car to stop. You would never send your kid across that zebra crossing, right? And the zebra crossing is designed for the cars to stop. There's no guarantee that car's going to stop. So you wouldn't let your kid walk across that zebra crossing until the cars are stopped. You wouldn't risk it. No. Would you?
No,
You know,
you
you're not
wouldn't.
going to see a car coming down the hill and step out onto the zebra hoping it's going to stop. You need to look both ways on this. And this is why we're going into court, so the judge can look both ways. Will we get a fair judge? We don't know. But we're still going to do it. We're still going to do it. We're going in, guys. We're going in, but we need you guys behind us. We need you guys out there supporting us, pushing us, fundraising for us, guys. That's all we really need now. We need all. Don't think it's not enough. Like I said, 16 pence per child. We're all going to start wearing T-shirts now. Ask me why I'm suing the government. So people will ask us why we're suing the government. Because we haven't got time to waste now. This is no time to be proud. This is no time to be fussy. We've just got to get out there. We have got to. It's disgusting, right? We've got to beg the taxpayer for money to take the government to court while they're splashing taxpayer money. Oh, they estimate this curriculum is going to cost between 300 and 600 million pounds. We're not talking between 30 and 40 million pounds. We're talking between 300 and 600 million pounds. Who is doing their calculations? Because that is a massive difference in that estimate. Who is doing calculations?
It is a huge difference, isn't it? Somewhere between, it's not like sort of saying somewhere between 10 and 12 pounds.
It's like they got money to waste.
They have.
They're complaining about kids in poverty. They complain about the attainment levels in this country. Like they complaining about living conditions, homeless families, okay? People living in squalor conditions, and they can just throw money away. This is an educational issue. Let's be honest now. If our bill is expected to be £100,000, right? They've just got that to throw away. It's an educational issue. Why are we fighting?
Yeah.
Why do we have to fight? Don't forget now, we were forced out to go to Cardiff as well. We were also on in court for a COVID penalty because of all this. We've been through a lot with this government, and it's about time now there's a bit of accountability, and I'm not going home until I get that accountability.
Absolutely. And remember as well, they passed this bill when you were all behind closed doors because we were all in a lockdown. And that's when they passed this bill. Everyone was worrying or out there with the, sort of talking about the COVID, and that's all that was on the news. And the Welsh government passed this just under the radar. Now, if this was a fantastic education, first class, like the ministers have tried to palm it off as, they'd be shouting this from the rooftops. They wouldn't be hiding it like they have been.
Lucia, if you look on the Senedd website, the press releases that kept going out were all COVID-related press releases. There was nothing on RSE until after things had taken place. Now, it's really bad. The way they've gone about this is really bad. If a normal human being tried to get in the way of me and my children in this way, I would be massively concerned. So the fact it's an entire government, I'm even more concerned, and I'm more concerned about the people that don't know. So I'm urging you guys out there that do know to just push this twice as hard. But one thing I need to mention, I got to mention this, guys, don't waste time on people. Give them the information, okay? If they're not getting it, they don't want to understand it, you have to move on. You have to keep moving on, okay? We need to just keep going now. Keep passing the information. If it falls dead, don't worry, just keep going, keep going. Information and fundraising. They both as equally as important as each other, Let's get this show on the road. It's showtime.
Yeah. It is showtime. Yeah, definitely. And like we've got like the websites there on the ticker there, publicchildprotectionwales.org. Just send people to the website, because we have got lots of information under the title Sex Education. There's loads of resources there. There's plenty of class content that we've seen in other countries, not just in countries such as America, but also in the UK. So, we know what's coming. That's the most annoying thing about it. We don't want to wait until your 3-year-old is coming home with pictures of, genitals and that, and sort of like acting all like, oh yes, this is my blah, blah, blah. We don't want to wait until your children have got these bad images embedded in their brain. This education is going to be coming in, and It's up to us now to put a stop to it before our poor children have got to endure it. I wouldn't be happy if my primary school child would be learning about the things that they've got in store. I wouldn't even be happy if my comprehensive children, age children, would be learning about the things that they've got in store, because we've seen some pretty graphic images and graphic information. And
that's not allowed. That's not allowed on daytime TV.
No.
Very same information. We have got to put a 16 label on our leaflets. That very same information I got pulled up on community standards for on Facebook.
Exactly.
The children's classroom takes 0.3 of a second for information to be stored in your child. Guys, what's the old saying? The kids are like a sponge.
Yeah.
It's not just a saying, it's real. They are like sponges. They're going to be taking everything in, even if it looks like they're not.
Yeah. Yeah, even when they're daydreaming, they look like they're daydreaming, they're taking it all in. Yeah. So now we're going to be, and as Kim had said at the beginning of this, it's not just going to be 1 hour a week. These issues, these ideologies, is going to be embedded across the curriculum. So every single day, your child's going to go into school and they're going to be reminded about, you know, a different sexuality or a different type of gender or whatever else they want to sort of put in those, you know, those the classes. So, you know, it's really not good. We don't want our children thinking about sex and sexuality, especially at primary school age. We want them to be, you know, sort of learning and
climbing trees. We want to climb trees, swinging from trees, building, messing, being kids. Bring back childhood.
And if you want to teach children life skills, then, you know, cooking, growing vegetables.
Yeah.
You know, there's lots of things that children can be learning. You know, I know lots of children that like building things. You know, just find something they're interested in. That's what schools should be doing. They should be finding the child's passion.
A 12-year-old putting a condom on a 7-inch penis dildo is not what they should be learning.
No, absolutely
not. Not a life skill. It is really not a life skill.
You're actually telling that child by doing that,
you're ready.
You're ready. This is what you got to do.
It's just like giving them the keys to a car. Well, you expect them not to drive it now?
Exactly.
But I have got to like shoot off, guys, because I got one son that's going to bring me if I don't get his roast potatoes and his Yorkshire puddings on the plate. The truth is, I'm a little bit reluctant because I haven't got no beef for my dinner.
You haven't got a what?
I haven't got no beef for my dinner because my dog's out this morning.
Yeah, no problem, Kim.
I got chicken and I got nothing.
No problem. No problem, Kim. We can wrap up now anyway, because I think we've given some information with regards to what's been going on. So yeah, ladies and gents, like the next step now is obviously waiting for our court date. I think there's a preliminary date first, isn't it?
It's a complex case, guys. It's going to take a bit of clearing up. It's not easy. We got people on it. It's going to take a couple of weeks. We're a couple of weeks ahead of where we expected to be, mind. This is massive. This has never happened in the UK before. The England case didn't get this far. They didn't get this media coverage. We are doing it, guys. We're absolutely doing it. And you know what? I want to take this opportunity, right, to give everyone a shout out to now, every single person. And you know what? I'm even going to give myself a shout out as well, because the growth in SLOT since 2020, what was I like on videos, right? The growth in SLOT since 2020, the way we've rose to the occasion every single time that government has given us a kick. A lot of people would have left a long time ago, but you know what? I'm even going to give myself a pat on the back, right? Because you know what? We've grown, we've changed, we've had to change who we are, we've had to play the game.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We've had to appear to like some things when we don't and things like that. Guys, we've had to do this for the children. This has been a problem for me. Keeping that shut, I got to be honest, has been a massive problem. So do you know what? I want to give everyone a massive shout out, including people on social media, because you've had to learn not to post stuff as well because you can't afford to be banned. Yeah. So everyone has changed something about themselves for this. And you know what? That's restored my faith in humanity. And I'm just absolutely buzzing to be standing next to all you guys on this most worthy cause, the most worthy cause I've ever known, the fight for our children's innocence.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are going to do this one way or another. I don't know which way. I don't know when, don't know how, but we're going to smash this. The buck stops with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And look where we are compared to like nearly 2 years ago we first all met, didn't we? Look how far we've come. I never in a million years, like obviously this was the plan, like we wanted to stop the RSC coming in, but I never in a million years thought we would get to this point where we actually have been granted a judicial review on this. This is huge. It's massive. We wouldn't have got here without you guys. You know, a lot of you have been with us since the beginning. But yeah, we have had people sort of like coming on board as we've gone along. And, you know, it has been amazing, really good, because, yeah, without you guys, we really wouldn't have been able to do this. No. Shall I just give a few shout outs before we go as well?
Yeah, I'm going to say goodbye to you all, guys, okay? I'm saying a crack on with dinner. Thank you all for everything. This to me, yes, we're fighting for all kids, but guys, to me, it's personal because like, my own kids are in this. So for every single person that's standing up for their own kids and that's standing up for my kids, I appreciate it. Thank you. Because not everyone is doing this. And the people that are, it just means a lot to me. Like my children mean the word, they are my life. So they're all kicking off and I'm going to go. That's my sentimental bit. Love to you all.
Love to you too, Kim. Brilliant. Thank you so much. Shall I remove you? Do I do it? Bye-bye. I'm going to try it. Yeah, I've removed her now. So yeah, that was, everything that Kim said there, we really do appreciate everything. And, you know, as a parent as well, like we know that we love our kids more than anyone else and we know what's best for our kids. We know our kids more than any other person. And when the Welsh Government keep giving this argument about, you know, this education being age and developmentally appropriate, it doesn't even exist. It's been proven that it does not exist because every child develops at a different stage. You know yourself when it is time that your child needs the talk. You know that only, you know that better than anyone else. Of course, there needs to be some kind of sex education in school because not every child has a responsible parent that will, you know, give them good advice. And, you know, but it has to be, if it's from the school, it has to be on a basis of truth. So it's biology. It's appropriate when you're talking about, you know, like vital biology is needed. And obviously, you know, changes to a child's body is needed. We do not have to be talking about sexual fantasies, etc., because that's a personal thing. It's an adult thing. And when they're starting to bring silly things like this into the schools, which we know they will, because they have done in other countries, then it's a no-no from us. So, loads and loads of issues with this RSE. We've obviously, it's obviously now been proven because the courts, you know, we gave a file like this, you know, huge, it was massive. The courts are taking it seriously because they do know it's a complex issue as well. I'm just going to say a couple of shout outs. Thank you, Sarah Benton, for watching. Thank you, Stacey Lee. Thank you, Lisa Rogers. Nice to see you. Lisa, you're always on our lives. Thank you so much. There's a new name there, Ros P. Thank you so much. Where much? Mike Moby. Yeah, education, not indoctrination. Exactly that. You know, we do need children do need educating, but let's not give them all these ideologies and all that. Linda Lou, that's horrific. We had to remove our son from high school due to bullying and mental health. That's really sad. Sorry to hear about that. He was referred to camps and diagnosed with ASD. Well, this is the issue now that we've got, you know, with this education coming into the schools. You have to be aware that there are a lot of children in schools with autism, ADHD, and sometimes that's not diagnosed until later as well. Now, these children may, you know, we've got to be very sensitive how such subjects are spoken about around, you know, children who have got additional needs as well. Martin South, thank you for watching. Hey, Joan, lovely to see you on here. Thank you for watching, Babs. Snaggletooth, thank you so much. Really, really appreciate all your support. Obviously, there's going to be more press releases coming out in the next couple of days, so we'll be sharing that out as well. So I'm going to leave you now, and thank you for watching, and we'll catch up with you really soon. Oh yeah, we've got our live tomorrow. Our normal weekly live will be tomorrow. About 9 o'clock we'll be doing that. So yeah, it'd be great if you could all join us on there. That'd be fantastic. Okay, so leaving you now, and we'll see you tomorrow evening.